Welcome to this episode of the Smart Leaders Sell podcast. I'm Jessica Lorimer, sales coach and leadership expert, and I'm really excited about today's episode. So a little bit of a context here. I am thinking about, don't all get excited or freak out, but I'm thinking about changing up the podcast slightly. And I've been inviting some ideas from those of you poddies who hang out in my free Facebook community. So over the last few days, I've been kind of having a little chat with people and saying, hey, what would you like? Like, what do you want to see in upcoming episodes? What do you really like about the podcast? What do you think? Actually, yeah, Jess, I'm getting a little bit bored of that. So I've been inviting some of these conversations and I'm having some of these conversations over the coming weeks. But I really want to invite those of you who have been avid listeners, if you've got ideas, if you think, actually, Jess, I'd really like to hear you talk about this in an upcoming episode, or I'd really like to hear you interview a super successful person with a shitty sales funnel or anything that you want. I'd love it if you could drop me an email, jessica@jessicalorimer.com, or head over to the free Facebook community and obviously pop your idea in there and tag me, because one of the reasons that I got into podcasting was that ultimately I wanted a way to deliver information that people liked, that was easy for people. And I get so many people every week, and I love it. Every week I get emails from people saying, hey, I took you on a run this week, which simultaneously makes me really happy. And like, I feel like I've exercised with you, so I don't really have to do it. But also, makes me feel a little bit like, oh God, I should really leave the house. I should really do some of that cardio stuff. So I get all of these emails and, you guys are taking me on dog walks. You are taking me running with you. You are listening to me in the car with your kids, so I'm really sorry for any explicit episodes that come up. And it's a really, really great way for me to kind of communicate with people, and I'm loving hearing the downloads that people are getting from the podcast. I'm loving hearing the wins. I'm loving hearing about people who are actioning stuff on the podcast, and it's just a really, really cool, not even like, I can't even call it anything. It's just my personal favorite thing to do in my business, and it brings me a lot of joy. So obviously, I want to make sure that it's something that is meeting the needs of you, because you are the listener. You are the one who's important in this. It's not just all about me. I mean, it would be nice if it was, but it's not, right? So it's one of those things where I would invite you, if you have any ideas, if you think, I'd love to hear about this, I'd like an episode on that, I'd love it if you could discuss X, Y, Z, or interview a certain person, then let me know, and I will do my absolute best to make it happen, because we want to make sure that we continue to please the few thousand of you who are now listening to the podcast, which is kind of crazy, because when I started it, it was just like, it's like my little podcast. And I was like, oh yeah, maybe like a couple of hundred people listen to it, and that would be really nice. And yeah, all good. And then I keep checking the stats, because I'm an obsessive stats checker. And also it makes me really happy. So I check the stats for the podcast every week, and I'm like, oh my God, look how many people have listened. And every month I send Scott a little update, and I'm like, this is how many people listened this month. Isn't that cool? Which I'm sure he gets sick of. But I do it anyway, because I'm very excited about it. So, it's grown exponentially from the kind of little podcast that I was expecting that maybe 200 people my mum would listen to something that kind of lives in its own right. And I want to make sure that we get it right for you every single episode. So if you do have anything that you'd like to see featured or discussed or anything like that, just give me a shout and I'll do my best to make it happen. But anyway, when I put out this kind of, hey poddies, what's the crack type post in my Facebook group, which incidentally is not what I said, but is very much what the overarching message was. Some people came back with some insane episode ideas that they wanted to hear about. And one of them was one of my biz besties, Heather Gray. And then we had some amazing suggestions from people like Joyce Washington, from Mark Simpson, from, we had some extra poddy love from Holly Coles. And it was just really, really nice to kind of see some people get really excited about the future of the podcast. So that's what I'm going to do. For the next couple of weeks, I'm going to be covering off episodes that people have asked for. Now, obviously, I'm going to be recording them in advance. So when you guys listening to them, you'll have to kind of imagine that you're with me right now, currently drinking a cup of Kofra coffee, which is amazing, by the way. I had to find it because my Tassimo coffee machine broke. No casting aspersions here on Tassimo, but I don't drink that much coffee. Cough. So I feel a little bit sad that it's broken, and I'm currently waiting for my Nespresso machine to turn up. So I'm actually having to make instant coffee, which I'm not really that good at. So drinking a bit of Kofa coffee with my little, she believed in herself. Oh no, she believed she could, so she did mug that my mother-in-law bought me, which is lovely. And just kind of chilling, thinking about the episodes that are upcoming, and specifically this one, because it's really interesting suggestion. And the suggestion was, could we have an episode on the mentors that you have and who you read or who you listen to or who you follow? And I was like, well, yeah, you could, but then it'd just be like kind of a review episode about who I kind of read stuff by, which I'm going to talk about anyway, so don't worry about it if you're interested. But I also wanted to tag in a little bit on the end because, hey, we like to learn, right? I wanted to tag in some bits on the end around how your mentors or coaches or consultants or people that you follow might change over time, you know, and when there's kind of like that natural point. And also, you know, from a sales perspective, like, how do you choose the best mentor for you? How do you choose the person who's actually going to get your business to where it needs to be and not get ripped off by a scam merchant? Which I realize I could have put more delicately, but hey ho, it's early morning here, okay? So we're going to roll with it. So this week in the world of Jessica Lorimer, it's been an interesting one, and more interesting since I had this kind of question posed to me about who are your mentors, who do you follow? And it really got me thinking, because I remember when I started out, now this is back when I was like cutting my teeth in the entrepreneurial space, and I look back at it now and kind of cringe because I was like, oh God, that was a little bit arrogant of me. And I remembered watching people who were hiring these amazing mentors. So at the time, there was somebody that I kind of wanted to work with. I was like, oh yeah, she seems kind of cool. And she was working with this big name, like big name. And I was like, oh, but if she's working with that person, then maybe I should just cut the middleman. Maybe I should just go work with him. Like, that would be awesome. I remember thinking about it for like a few days, and I was going to reach out to this person. And incidentally, at that point in time, the big coach that this person was coaching with was James Wedmore. And I was like, oh, but I could just coach with James Wedmore and like my business would change and everything would happen overnight. And oh my God, like I could be in this mastermind. And in my head, I was imagining like hanging out at Laguna Beach, just chilling and, you know, having really interesting and in-depth conversations. When I say interesting and in-depth, I mean conversations around, hey, James, how has your hairstyle changed over the last 10 years? Because, you know, back when I've been stalking you on social media, it doesn't really look like it's changed that much. Do you think it's a classic? I realize now how woefully incompetent I would have been as a student of James Wedmore's at that time. But it is that kind of thing. So, you know, anyway, I was really debating at that point in time, do I cut out the middleman? Do I not coach with this person and actually just go straight to her coach? And I was talking to my mum about it, actually. And my mum, you know, is a very, very wise woman. And I was saying, you know, why don't I, instead of paying, I don't know what it was, I think it was like 5K at the time. I was like, instead of paying 5K to work with this woman, you know, who's good, I could just pay like 15 and work with James Wedmore. And I remember my mum being like, A, I have no idea who either of these people are. She's like, and B, you thought this woman was great. And I'm like, yeah, she is great. And she's like, and you thought that she'd get your business where it needed to be next, right? And I'm like, yeah. She's like, so why go to the next step up when you might not be ready? And I remember thinking, oh, that wasn't something that I'd considered. Now, I look back now and I'm really fortunate to kind of look back over the course of my business and have had, you know, lots and lots of really successful clients and be really, really proud of them. And I kind of think, yeah, my mum was 100% right, because even if I'd have gone and worked with James Wedmore, I mean, chances are he'd have been an excellent coach. I mean, I hear nothing but good things, but I wasn't at the stage that he was looking for as a client. And so even if I'd have paid him the money, even if he'd have let me pay him the money, would I necessarily have got the results that he was looking for from a client? Well, probably not, because, you know, there was me like, I've got my second lead magnet done, James. How can I be a millionaire? And that wasn't necessarily what he was looking for at that time. And it also wasn't what was the right fit for me. Okay, you know, there's me kind of wet behind the ears. Oh God, got my second lead magnet. I've no real idea what a funnel can do. And, you know, it seems like a lot of technology and, here I am trying to figure out how to balance my time still, I would have felt like I was failing. And I would have felt like I was being irritating or asking stupid questions. And I would have tried to bring my business up to a level that it wasn't ready to be at. And so even now, when I look at my mentors and the people I followed them for years. I followed some of these people for years and years until I actually got to a point in my business where I was like, okay, now I'm ready for this person's coaching. In some cases, I've been like, okay, now I'm ready to join this person's mastermind, or now I'm ready to go and, learn from this person about marketing, whatever. And in some cases, it's been quite sad. I've kind of bypassed that person and been like, oh, shoot, somehow I managed to learn that stuff either through other things that I've participated in or through my own mistakes. And so it's kind of like, oh, okay, I can't coach with you anymore, but we can be friends. That sounds really sad, doesn't it? We can be friends. If anyone's watched The In-Betweeners, you'll know what I mean when I say friends, best friends. Anyway, it kind of gets to that point where it is interesting, and you do outgrow some of the mentorship that you want to receive. You do outgrow certain people you follow, and we'll talk about that a bit later on. But let's look at who I have followed for a long time and who I've been working with over the last couple of years, and give you some kind of honest opinions around what it's been like and who I've outgrown, who I've stuck with, and why the people I've stuck with have been like the everlasting, they will always be in my inbox type people. Because I think that that's actually really important. I mean, how can we start building those brands for ourselves? How can we start that being our sales process of, we always want to follow these people because, that they're good people and they always have really interesting things to say. So before we kind of dig into, okay, who does Jess follow? Which is basically the kind of interesting bit, isn't it, right? Who's Jess follow? Whose book can I buy that I'm going to learn from now? But, when I think about who I follow, it's important to think about, why is it important in the first place to have good people to follow? Like, why should you have a good mentor or a good coach? And this is something that in the online space that we're currently in, where it is kind of prevalent, unfortunately, that people don't necessarily behave in the way that always has kind of complete integrity. It's really important for me to follow the right people, to follow people who have the same values that I do. It's important for me to follow people who have been on a similar journey to me, in terms of building their business in a similar way that I have. It's important to me to follow people who've actually got results, both for them and for their clients, because otherwise, how can I possibly be successful if it's not something that they've done before? Okay, so for me, it's important to have good mentors, because good mentors are there to help you build and design the transformation that you're looking for, whether that's in business or health or your relationship or whatever that looks like. Ultimately, a good mentor is there to help you get through that process and to help you build it in the best way. And if they haven't got the same values as you, or if they haven't got results for themselves or for their clients, or if they haven't, proven to you that they can take you where you want to be, actually you can end up with a relationship with a mentor, no matter how close it is, whether you're just reading their books every so often, listening to their podcasts, whether you're actually working with them like one-to-one or in a mastermind setting. You can end up building a business or a relationship or a lifestyle that doesn't actually fit your needs, and that you then have to go back and change at a later point. So just really think about that. When you're thinking about getting a mentor, or when you're thinking about following a new person, start opening up some of the bigger questions around, what values do they have? Have they been where I am? Have they been where I want to go? Do I trust that they can get me results? Do I know that they've got other people results consistently who are like me? And start opening up that conversation in your head before you're like, oh great, they earn like $500 squillion a year, so ultimately they must be the best business coach in the world. Because they might earn a ton of money, but they might not be the right fit for you. They might encourage you to build a business that isn't the right fit for you. So just have a little think. Now, in terms of mentors, and I'm going to take a sip of my coffee before I start this section. I feel like this section requires some hype. So bear with me for 1 second. That coffee is so damn good. But who are the people that I have followed or am currently following? So in terms of who I'm currently following, people that I currently either binge listen to their podcasts, read their books, attend their events, actually follow them on social media and make an effort to read their stuff, let them in my inbox, read their newsletters, check out their websites regularly. Basically, the people that I kind of stalk on a day-to-day basis are people like Janet Murray, right? And the cool thing about Janet is that actually she listens to my podcast, which I'm like, oh my God, fangirl. But I love Janet Murray's stuff. She has this huge focus on PR, and she was a very successful journalist in her own right. And then she went on to set up her own PR agency. And then from that, she kind of spiraled into building this amazing business where she has her own membership site for people who specifically want to improve their PR. She runs incredible masterminds that former clients of mine have been part of and have kind of raved about. And actually in the industry, she's a woman that I really respect. There aren't many women at the same level as me in this industry. And that sounds kind of arrogant, but it's not designed to, right? But there aren't that many women. And, there aren't that many women who've gotten to the top through supporting other people. And one of the things that I really respect about Janet is that she is very relationship based. And so her thing is all about building relationships with people, networking. She also tells it like it is. She's got a phenomenal podcast episode that I've listened to about 3 times at the moment, which is called, Should You Have to Pay to Play When It Comes to Business? And some of the concepts are, they are huge and they are uncomfortable, but that's what I like. It's dealing with this uncomfortable issue. It's bringing things to the fore that actually we do need to be talking about. We do need to be having a conversation about. And so she is one of those people that I binge listen to her podcast. I retweet her all the time, probably in an irritating way. But I'm genuinely interested in her content. I'm genuinely interested in her business. I'm genuinely interested in her as a person. And I'm also hugely honored that she is somebody who listens to my podcast, that she has invited me to speak to her at her event in July. There are just lots of things that I'm like, okay, relationships take time to build, but sometimes you get to build them with mentors or colleagues or peers or coaches or whoever in the industry. And that's a relationship that I really value, and for me, I personally follow all of her stuff across Twitter, across LinkedIn, across a podcast, all that kind of thing, because it's interesting, because there's always something I can learn, whether it's about PR necessarily, or whether it's about wider business or how the industry is changing from a PR perspective or what's going on in that kind of world. I think it's really interesting. And then other people I follow. So one of the other people that I actually mentored with for a little while, so was my coach for a little while, and now is just a really good friend. In fact, we're going out on his jet skis in a couple of weeks, is Dan Meredith, as he calls himself, the beast of business, or beast in business, or whatever he's calling himself now, I've no idea. The beardy guy that swears a lot. And again, somebody that I really respect in business. Now, with Dan, he puts out so much content on social media that I'm always like, look, mate, I'm not going to read it all because there's just quite a lot. And actually, we are in similar spaces. And one of the reasons that I hired Dan back in 2017 was that I felt like I wasn't, I'd just gone through a major pivot in my business, and I felt like I wasn't attracting the people that I really wanted to speak to. And the reason that I wasn't attracting the people I really wanted to speak to was not because I wasn't capable of it, was because, quite frankly, I wasn't brave enough to step up with my messaging. And I was finding it really difficult to reset boundaries and to kind of take a stand on who I really wanted to be in the online space. And something that Dan is very good about, or is very good at, is putting his whole self out there. He's not afraid to be loud and proud about what he likes, about what he doesn't like. He's unafraid of, I want to say reaction, but that's not true. I'm like, Dan is one of those people who says what he means. And he's not afraid of the consequences because he genuinely believes in what he's saying. And so for him, it's like, well, if somebody doesn't resonate with it, it's cool if they troll me. It's cool if they're mean to me. It's cool if they do whatever they do, because I'm not going to change believing in that thing or that concept just because somebody else is prepared to give me a hard time. And that for me was really interesting. And it was actually a really valuable lesson. For me, working with him was really valuable from that perspective of, okay, cool. I get to I get to say what I want, and people get to be upset and people get to react however they want to react. But ultimately, as long as it's something that I still believe, that I have 100% belief in, and I, have this integrity around, then it's cool that they get to react however they choose. And that's hugely valuable. And obviously, I've worked with Dan, and I've been fortunate enough that he thinks that I'm good at what I do, which is handy, really, isn't it, from a coach? And, he's invited me. I spoke at his event in December. He's invited me to help his audience on numerous occasions when it comes to sales, because that is my jam, and it's not because he's my coach or because he's been my coach. It's because I'm good at what I do, and because he's good at what he does. We kind of recognize, and I think this is the thing when it comes to looking at people in the industry that you respect and admire. The people that I recognize and respect in my industry are people who aren't afraid to say, yeah, do you know what? That's not really in my wheelhouse, and here's another expert who can do it. And that's something that I do all of the time. I'm always recommending people to my audience. I'm always sending people off to go and explore somebody else's resources. And so I'm really fortunate that Dan is one of those people, and that, he embodies that same value of, if it's not in my wheelhouse, I'm going to connect you with the person that is best for you, And so for that, I do thank him for the amount of tags that he tags me in his groups, and gets me to answer a bunch of questions that honestly I think he probably could answer. He just doesn't want to. He's like, I'm just going to sit back, have my coffee, and let Jess deal with it. So there are those kinds of things as well. And he's one of the people that I do. I've actually got his book on Audible, How to Be Effing Awesome. And if you haven't read it or listened to it on Audible, it's one that, pick up. It's actually a really good read. And it's written in the way that Dan talks, so it's full of swear words, but it's practical, it's actionable, and I really like it for that reason. Now, obviously, Dan's a very big personality, and, when I kind of look at him in comparison to some of the other people I follow, it's a bit like, oh, some of these people are not as prevalent on social media, as indeed I am not. Dan is like, I'm going to do a Facebook Live every 5 minutes, and I'm going to post about everything, and that's cool, because that's who he is. He is, as a person, larger than life, and he believes in sharing it all, and it's great. It's something that I really respect. But as a person, I'm not really like that, and when I'm setting up my business, one of the big things I used to say to Dan when he was my coach was, yeah, do you know what? That's cool. Your business is awesome, but I just don't want to build that. Like, I don't want to have to be on Facebook every 5 minutes, because I just don't want to. And so I follow other people for different things. And one of the people that I follow in terms of building future-proof brand, and in terms of, building your presence outside of posting on Facebook every 5 minutes, is Chris Ducker. Now, I followed Chris for years. I love his book, The Rise of the Youpreneur. I was fortunate enough, really. I attended Youpreneur last year in 2017. That was the inaugural event in London, which was a phenomenal event. And he was handing out these books to all of the delegates free of charge. And, I read it on the way home because I was so excited about it. And it was just one of those things I could devour in one go. And I loved it. So, it's definitely an amazing book. If you're somebody who's looking at, okay, I want to build my personal brand, but how can I do it in a way that works for me? Grab a copy of the book. It's awesome. It genuinely is an amazing book. Some of the concepts in there are fantastic. And Chris, again, is somebody who's very well known for being somebody that's happy to recommend others. And he, again, has spent a lot of time in his business, kind of, I guess, business career. Do you say that? Business journey? Building relationships with other good people. He's really well networked, and that shows, when he holds an event. So, for example, Youpreneur last year, the keynote speakers were people like John Lee Dumas, Pat Flynn, Janet Murray spoke on the stage last year, Carrie Green, and he had some incredible people. And I remember being sat there in 2017 going, oh my God, I want to be on that stage next year. Like, I want to be on that stage at some point. And this year, I'm fortunate enough that I am going to be on that stage next year. And I kind of can't believe it, because, I was like, whoa. And I'm not woo-woo, okay? So I don't have a vision board. I haven't got a picture of, like, Chris Ducker's face on it, or, the QE2 Centre in London, because that's where it's being held. So I don't have those things, but I'm going to be on that stage this year, 2018. And for me, that's a huge thing. I'm going to be on stage with people like Jay Bayer, Carrie Wilkerson, And that's a huge responsibility. And it's also a huge adrenaline rush. I'm like, oh my God, like this is phenomenal. And I look at somebody like Chris, who, you know, I have fangirled over for years and read his books and listened to his podcast. And I've been, you know, part of his membership community, and I've done all these things. And I'm like, oh my God, like, you know, we're jumping on Skype to talk to each other at like 7 a.m. on a Thursday about something to do with Youpreneur. And I'm like, oh my God, like I'm going to talk to Chris Tucker. Oh, this is so exciting, right? So, you know, don't think that you don't get to fangirl over people or fanboy over people. I don't know if that's actually a term. Once you have kind of got to a level that they want you to speak at their events, or that they want to be peers with you, or that you start coaching with them, like you still get to have that, oh my God, that's so exciting, that kind of feeling, because it is exciting. Because, you know, when you've been in business for a long time and you follow these people, to know that they're real humans, to know that they have that kind of 7 a.m., oh God, it's 7 a.m. really, like pre-coffee feeling too, is amazing. Okay, so, you know, Chris Tucker is somebody that I do hugely respect in the industry. I mean, other people that I've followed for years, but haven't worked with, but I'm like, I still want everything in my inbox, are people like Ashley Ambirge. So Ashley Ambirge, I absolutely adore her. I've never bought anything from her. Like, just for the record, she's somebody that I've had in my inbox for probably 2.5 years, maybe 3. And I just love her. I think she is hilarious. I love the way that she writes. The information that she's putting out there is incredible. And I think it's really unfortunate. For me, I found Ash after I'd kind of gone past the point of needing to work with her. You know, so when I was talking earlier about you will kind of grow out of people, or you won't necessarily coach with them because you will have gone past that stage. I am past that stage, but I absolutely adore her stuff. I adore her story. She writes in this kind of snarky, sarcastic, but super funny and dry way, and that really gets me, and I just love her sense of humor. And what I really love about her is that the few times I've sent an email back, because, you know, I get her emails in my inbox pretty much daily, and I've sent an email back and been sometimes like, oh my God, that's the funniest thing I've ever read, or actually that was really on point for me today, or, you know, whatever it is that I want to say. Always you get a really nice email back from her customer service team saying, yeah, we'll pass that on to Ash. We'll put it in her testimonial pot. Like, that'll make her smile. And I think that's really nice. You know, it's nice to reach out to people and know that they're actually listening and that they're hearing what you're saying. And I think, you know, no matter how big a community is, I think that's a really, really powerful thing. So if you are somebody who's kind of looking, you know, maybe you're a freelancer, maybe you're looking at utilizing your writing skills, you want to become a pro blogger, anything like that, check out Ash. Like, she is funny as anything. Her emails are really on point, and her information is really, really solid. So, you know, go and have a look at her website. She used to have this really cool thing, which I think they don't have now, I'm gutted about, where you could switch the website from snarky to censored, and it would take all the swear words out, which I just thought was brilliant. So, you know, if you're a web designer and you can make that happen for me, please get in touch, because I think it would be absolutely hilarious. And then obviously there are people whose books and stuff that I read and that, you know, I really like, and perhaps I'd never approach, perhaps I'd never coach with, but I love them. You know, Ali Brown, who runs the podcast Glambition Radio, is phenomenal. Her episode on renegade leadership is amazing. She also has another episode, which I love, which I listen to probably at least once a month, called Stop the Online Insanity. And honestly, everything she says in it, I just nod my head like the Churchill dog. I'm like, oh my God, she's so right. She's so right. And I think if I ever met Ali in real life, I'd probably cry a little bit, because she's somebody who's built a business over a very long period of time. She's seen it all. She troubleshoots really well. Her clients are super successful. And I just really admire how she handles things in business and in life. And I admire the way that she moves through the world. And I think that that's really, really important. So there's obviously Ali, there's Tim Ferriss, who everyone knows, wrote the 4-Hour Work Week, which incredible. I mean, Tim, if you ever listen to my podcast, I binge read that. Over the Christmas holiday, I was sat with my future mother-in-law and kind of read the entire thing in a day, which actually, it's a pretty big book. So I was really chuffed with myself. And also I'd had quite a lot of Prosecco. But as soon as I read the book, I went out and I was like, right, I'm hiring a team. And, you know, promptly went out and made some different hiring decisions. So, you know, those are the kinds of people that I love, that I follow, that I admire. We've got obviously Janet Murray, Chris Ducker, John Lee Dumas, Tim Ferriss, Dan Meredith, Ashley Amberjay, Danielle Laporte. Her book White Hot Truth was incredible, and I know that she's in some hot water at the moment, and I don't want to open up that bag of that kind of discussion on this episode, but actually there are things from everyone that I've taken away, and those are the people I'm like, right, okay, yeah, I like their values. I like who they are as people. I admire the way that they've built their businesses. I admire the way that they move through the world. And I really respect them. So those are kind of like my list of, I love those people, and you should go love them too. Then we kind of come into the question around, do your mentors change over time? And the answer is that yes. Honestly, the people that I've followed, the people I've bought from, the people I've coached with, they have changed over time. And it doesn't mean that I don't like or respect or even refer people to the people I worked with when I was first in business. When I started out in business, I really admired people like Emily Williams, like Jessica Caver Lindholm, and I worked with them, in different capacities. And I still say to people, do you know what? Like, if you're into the kind of manifestation stuff and the visualization and abundance kind of thing, check out their resources, because they're very, very much about that. If you're somebody who's very much into that kind of, I want to have this luxury lifestyle and I want to do the photo shoots in Paris, I'm like, absolutely go that way. And there was a time when I wanted that stuff too. It's just that, I kind of realized after a little while that heels and Blackberries and things were things that I wanted to give up. And I wanted to bum around in my, fluffy jumper, my possum socks, and, just kind of chill when it came to life. So, your mentors do change. And I firmly believe that it's not that they change because you suddenly don't like them anymore or because you don't respect them. It's because, you learn and you want to learn different things, or your focus becomes different. A lot of the people who work with me initially will work with me probably 6 months, a year. They'll be in my membership for 6 months, a year, or whatever. And they'll learn what they need to learn about sales, and then they'll stay for community. But, it's one of those things where your mentors will change over time depending on what you are focusing on. So, when people are working with me and they'll come to the membership, they'll learn actively for 6 months to a year, whatever it is that they're focusing on in sales in that point in time. So it might be immediate cash generation. It might be about longer term sales funnels. It might be automation, delegation, hiring. Like, there are lots of different things that might be people's focuses at that time. And then they'll take a time out of like active learning. And it might be that they spend more time focusing on the community. They might leave altogether, and come back at a later point when, again, their focus has come back to sales and to really implementing or focusing on another area of sales that they want to. They might not come back. They might refer other people. They might not come back at all. They might just leave and be like, yeah, actually, no, I just don't need anything else. I just needed that one tune up at that point in time, and now I'm good. So you want to be thinking about if your mentors are changing, or if you are the mentor and people are kind of moving away from you and gravitating towards someone else. It doesn't mean that you need to change what you do in terms of your business. It doesn't, and it certainly doesn't mean that at all. It just means that they'll come back at a different time when they're ready, or they'll refer other people. You still get to stay in your wheelhouse, but people get to move away from you. And I guess it's like the Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus book thing. The clients are like elastic bands. Sometimes they just need to stretch away a little bit, and maybe they'll ping back, and maybe they'll bring someone else with them, and maybe they won't, But it's not a case of personally liking mentors, disliking them, moving away from that reason. It genuinely is more about, okay, what am I focusing on right now? What do I need to learn right now? What do I need to do to take my business to another level? And is this person still the right person for me to be following? There are people that I buy from. For example, I'm in Chris Ducker's mastermind. Not mastermind, I'm in his membership, and I pay 59 quid a month. And I'm in Dan Meredith's membership and I pay £97 a month. Not because I actively am learning anything from either of them, in the nicest way possible. Sorry, Chris. Sorry, Dan. But because I really enjoy the value that they provide in other areas. I absolutely love Chris's podcast. I listen to it, every week. And so for me, I'm like, yeah, okay, I'll pay £59 a month because I just want to show up. I just want to show that actually I'm genuinely invested in that and that I enjoy it, and I'm okay to show that with £59 a month, even if I don't use the community or the forum or anything else. For me, it's there, the value is there, and I really appreciate it, and so I might not actively be going out there and being like, hey, I want to buy from you and banging the door down, but I am, I am showing up, I am being an avid listener, I am being an avid messenger for them, I am being an avid follower. And then finally we need to look at, okay, well, that's all great, Jess, your mentors sound awesome, which, let's face it, they all do. But how do you choose the best person? Like, how do I choose the best person for me? How do I choose the best coach for me? How do I choose the best consultant for me? Because there are so many out there. And this, I guess, is part of the problem, right? There are so many coaches out there. There are so many consultants out there. You can follow anyone. And the reality is that everyone's Facebook looks great. Nobody sits there and is like, oh God, well, client A said that I sucked as a coach today, or client B hasn't had any results for the last 12 months and I'm not really sure what to do. Nobody's Facebook really kind of comes out and says that. Everyone looks like, yeah, I'm an ace coach and all my clients are doing amazingly. And so it can be really difficult to choose, because when everyone looks the same, how do you make the decision on where you spend your money? And my answer always comes down to three things, okay? What is it you actually need to focus on in your business right now? What's the one thing that you really need right now? Is it you need to make money? Is it you need how to learn about sales funnels? Is it you need to scale your brand exponentially? Is it you need to be generating a ton of leads, right? Is it that you need to be getting more PR? There are lots and lots of things that might be an immediate focus for you right now. And, that kind of narrows down who you follow in the newsfeed, because everyone who isn't doing that kind of stuff, you can mute them for a little while. You can kind of take a pause on, okay, great. Well, if PR is the one thing I really need to be focusing on, do I need to be following 20 different marketing coaches? Probably not. Okay. So, have a little think about, what is my immediate focus right now? Is it money? Is it marketing? Is it, lead generation? Is it branding, visibility, PR? And start actively weeding down all of the other things that you are looking at, because you don't really need everything at once. Okay. And then the other thing I look at is their values. Values are something that is really important to me. And annoyingly, my family and particularly my boyfriend will tell you that principles and values are one of the things that they're like as integral to me in life as breathing. And so if somebody doesn't have the same values as me, I just can't jive with them. It doesn't matter how great their business is. It doesn't matter how well they're doing. I just can't compromise on the values that I have around integrity, honesty, making my business fun, work-life balance. Like there are just certain things that I can't change about who I am. And so for me, when I'm looking for a coach or a mentor or anyone to come into my business, a team member, their values are really important to me. Are they loyal? Are they honest? Do they show the reality? Are they transparent about what's going on, even when things are like great and even when things are crap? Those kinds of things are really, really important to me. And then finally, it's due diligence. Okay, and due diligence is a few things. It's not just about looking at the person's website and going, okay, great, they've got 3 testimonials, all looks good. It's about hanging out in their communities and going, okay, is this person delivering value? Is this person, are their clients getting results continuously? Are their clients continuously successful, even after they've stopped working with that person? Also, are they in touch with their former clients? I cannot bear the industry standard of, if you're not paying me, we are no longer pals. You cannot contact me until you pay me another X many thousands of dollars. And that really frustrates me. And I don't want to build relationships with people who see their clients as transactional, who see their clients as dollar signs. It really frustrates me and frankly upsets me, because I don't believe that you should treat people like that. So, do your due diligence, yes, around results. Results are the most important thing when it comes to, if you are going to pay somebody money, you need to know they're going to get the job done. But then also do due diligence around how many of their clients are actually successful, in the way that they want it to be. Not, okay, great, I'm hustling 24/7 and so I'm making some money, but who are actually doing well in their businesses, enjoying their lives, having this kind of balance that maybe you're looking for. Look at, okay, how often are they in contact with their previous clients? Are their previous clients going into their Facebook group and talking about them being great? Do they have testimonials regularly? Are they, communicating and building their network sustainably in a way that you want to? And if they meet all of those criteria, then go for it. Throw your money at them like a kid throwing their cash at cake, okay? Because once you've found the right mentor, there is really no there's really no point in going out and trying to find somebody who's going to be cheaper or who's going to be, available at a time that you want them to be. Sometimes I've waited 4 or 5 months for a mentor or a coach to have a space for me. And I've worked really hard in that 4 or 5 months to kind of make it up, but there's nothing I can do until that point. Yeah. So don't be afraid to be like, right, okay, if that's the person I want to work with, I'm going to save the money and make it happen. Or I'm going to wait until their diary lets up and then I'm going to work with them when it's ready. Or I'm going to, do these things. Don't go out and just buy like a cheap version of the course or be like, oh, well, that person trained with that person, so they must be qualified to do it too. Hold out for the person you want and you will get better results every time. So that is today's episode. I'm aware that it's been quite a long one. I really enjoy raving about like people that I love and adore and follow regularly. So apologies if that's gone a little bit long for you. But, really and truly, if you are looking to do any of those things, if you are looking to build your brand, if you are looking to get more PR in your business, if you are looking to, just be who you want to be and set effective boundaries and tell everyone on social media how your life's going and build your business that way, there are people out there that you need to be following. And then finally, just to end this episode, I'd like to also say that there are lots of people that I follow and admire and perhaps have bought from or haven't bought from, but respect and perhaps would one day purchase from, who maybe aren't the big names, and this is a kind of story for another episode, but, yes, I follow a lot of big name people because at the end of the day, sometimes there aren't people who are not big names who are perhaps aware of the challenges that come with running a business that is the size of my business or has the same scale. But there are also a lot of people who are in other areas who perhaps are not big names, but I have hired or would hire or have, worked on projects with that I really respect. And, I just want to kind of shout a few of those out too, because it's really important to me that when we're talking about who are the people that we should follow, who are the people we should mentor, I remember when I started out and I had 0 followers. Nobody was following little Jess Lorimer. Nobody really gave a crap what I was doing. And it was really hard because I look at some of the people who are influencers in my space and be like, I know that I could really help you. And I know that your sales process actually kind of sucks. And I know that you're not building relationships that well. But nobody wanted to take advice from me because I wasn't a big name yet. And it's funny because now that I'm at the other side of that, people will approach me and be like, oh my God, I wish I'd had you 4 years ago, or I wish I'd spoken to you 2 years ago. And I'm like, yeah, I emailed you and you never responded. And, I thought that was awkward too. So when you are looking for mentors or coaches or consultants or somebody to help you, don't just look for the big name. Look for the person who's actually going to get you where you want to be. And who's going to get you the results that you want. So, for example, when it comes to podcasting, the only person that I trust is Scott Doucette. He produces my podcast. He helped me launch this podcast. He, sits there patiently every episode, editing it. He gives me advice on, how the episodes are, what to do to build my audience, and genuinely is the best person that I could have picked to work with on the podcast. And yet, maybe his following is not like the hundreds of thousands that other podcast coaches or professionals have, but he gives a crap about all of his clients. And that's what I like. He's genuinely dedicated to all of us who he kind of edits and produces podcasts for. People like Heather Gray, she's a biz bestie of mine and has been for the last year. And I can't imagine any day where I haven't spoken to her on Voxer. But, Heather's somebody who I admire and who absolutely should be working with a lot of the big names in our industry. I've hired her myself for mindset when I've been like, hey, I'm in a funk. Sort me out. Like, I don't know what's wrong with me, but you will. And, she comes with 20 years of experience in, mental health and counseling and therapy and all these kinds of things and clinical psychology. And I'm like, you put your reps in the offline world. And, sometimes when you come into the online world, everyone's like, oh yeah, but, you don't have 70,000 followers on Facebook. So how can I possibly hire you? But she's amazing. Liz Wilkins, recently designed my planner. And again, is phenomenal. She is somebody who's in my community. In fact, both Heather and Liz bought courses of mine in 2016 and 2017. And Liz was the only person that I was like, okay, cool, I'm going to make a planner. And who do I need? And I was like, it's going to be Liz. Of course it's going to be Liz. Because again, she put her reps in the offline world. She used to work for a major design company, and she knew my brand and my business. So when I was like, okay, cool, I'm having branding work and design work done, obviously it's going to be Liz, right? Beth Lynch, when I needed somebody to take over the back end of my business and I'd been let down by a number of kind of VAs and OBMs and things, I was like, who can I trust in my community? Who can I actively look at in my community who will help me build my business in the right way, who has the same values? And, Beth is somebody who sits in the back end of my business. If you ever email us and you have like a tech issue or you can't remember your logins or anything like that, Beth is the one who's there, and she's like Team Jess behind the scenes and manages everything that happens. She's also one of the most loyal people I know, and she works her backside off for her clients. So these are people, when you are looking at, okay, who do I follow in the industry? If you're looking for people to help you, build your podcast, reset your mindset, go and be part of your team in some way, look for people who are, again, embodying the values, not just with the squillions of followers, because the squillions of followers don't always mean anything. Okay, but the long-term success and sustainability of their business, of the happiness of their clients, those things really do. So if you've enjoyed today's episode, I'd love to hear your thoughts. And obviously, if you do have any ideas for the podcast coming up, if you're like, Jess, I really want to hear about this, or I want to know your thoughts on that, or I'd love a sales strategy behind XYZ, then, like I say, pop me an email, hop in the group, let me know what you are thinking. There will be some changes coming to the podcast. Don't worry, the deep dive trainings are not going to go away. The live coaching elements are not going to go away. But I want to make sure that you guys are getting everything you want. And potentially, it may be the thing that we have to bring more episodes into the mix. Who knows? I will see you in the next episode.